Whether you're new to self-directed IRAs or looking to deepen your understanding a bit further, today's webinar will offer you valuable insight into the powerful capabilities of a self-directed IRA. So, gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing great, Alberto. Thank you for the introduction. I'm Will Osborne. I'm an account executive with Madison Trust.
Same. I'm also an account executive. My name's Ryan Connelly. Alberto, how are we doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. And just a reminder for all those tuned in, if you have any questions you'd like answered, please type them into the Q&A feature below. So let's get right into it. First question that we've been asked is, what type of investments can be held in a self-directed IRA?
So a self-directed IRA, let's say special type of IRA. So a conventional IRA will allow you to invest in publicly traded securities like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. A self-directed IRA will allow you to invest in everything else. In other words, alternative investments. So real estate, very popular through a self-directed IRA, whether that's a direct investment or something more passive like a real estate fund or syndication deal. Private equity, very popular as well. Private loans, precious metals, cryptocurrency, you name it. Really anything that's not publicly traded, we can hold here at Madison Trust within a self-directed IRA.
All right, awesome. Another question we have from an audience member is that they set up an LLC owned by their Roth IRA with the help of us and purchased a new home that is now being used as an Airbnb. They would like to set up another LLC owned by their traditional IRA. Their question to you is, can they sell their property currently owned by their Roth IRA to the new LLC owned by his traditional IRA?
So they unfortunately would not. And that's only because their IRAs are disqualified from each other. So them transacting with each other would be considered a prohibited transaction by the IRS. So a transaction like that would have to be arm's length.
Right. And by the way, we do have a webinar on prohibited transactions. You can find that on the webinar replays page. And we have great resources on our site as well. And I'm sure we'll have more questions about prohibited transactions, but definitely wanted to put that out there.
Okay, great, great. And another audience member asked, when the IRA owns a residential property, at what age can the IRA owner distribute the property to themselves without penalty?
So the age would be 59 and a half. That's when you could take penalty-free distributions from an IRA, whether that's a cash distribution, which is more common, of course, or the in-kind distribution. So need to be at least 59 and a half. To add on to that, required minimum distributions start at 73.
Excellent. Another question coming in. How do I set up a private loan with my self-directed IRA at Madison Trust?
So basically, we would need some sort of documentation for review. So send us a draft of a promissory note, for example. We'll have our compliance team review, make sure all of the terms are included, everything that we need is included so that it's administratively feasible. Most importantly, the Madison Trust IRA is listed as the lender. So we provide clients with that exact titling so everything is done correctly. So at the end of the day, it's really a matter of preparing the note or loan agreement yourself. To reiterate, we're a passive custodian. So we're doing everything with the client's direction. It's truly self-directed. So again, we're reviewing it quickly. You're filling out a form to tell us where the funds are going, and that would complete the process.
Great. Another question coming in asking, can a self-directed IRA be liquidated or rolled over somehow to be used as an investment in commercial real estate?
So it can, yes. So investing into some sort of LLC or limited partnership that's investing in commercial real estate is very popular on our platform. So basically, us just taking a look at those documents, just make sure nothing's prohibited by the IRS or anything along those lines. And then from there, we can place that investment within the self-directed IRA at your direction.
Great. Another question coming in asking, do you allow and set up checkbook control?
Yes, we do. So we work with our sister company, Broad Financial, to set up either an IRA LLC or IRA trust. So these are entities that give you the ability to manage your own IRA funds, i.e. checkbook control. So that's where that marketing term comes from. So you're still establishing a self-directed IRA with Madison Trust, but the owner of the entity that you set up with Broad Financial is this Madison IRA. So let's say, hypothetically, you go with the LLC option, which, by the way, is the more popular option. But anyway, the owner of that LLC, or the sole member, is the Madison IRA. The client is the non-compensated manager. That goes back to the IRA owner being disqualified. And from there, they set up a checking account for the LLC at the bank of their choice, and they instruct Madison to fund that account. And from there, the client takes over. So placing investments is really as simple as cutting a check from that LLC or sending a wire. And in terms of real estate, expenses are paid out of the LLC. All rental payments, if it's a rental, are coming back into the LLC. So doing it this way basically allows you to cut out Madison's involvement. So you're not paying transaction fees. You're not subject to processing times. You're basically just cutting out the red tape that would be there otherwise. So in other words, if you had a standard Madison Trust account. So long-winded way of saying, yes, we can help you establish the checkbook account.
Okay, great, great. Another question coming in asking what paperwork and required documents are needed to do when self-directed.
So when it comes to just opening up the account, you'll be filling out an account application. We're going to send back the application for you to sign and the custodial agreement to sign. And then we're also sending you a copy of the account disclosure. So these are requirements per the IRS. So that's just getting the account open. From there, when it comes to placing an investment, and I alluded to this in an earlier question, you're simply sending us investment documents for review. If you wanted to invest in a private placement, for example, some sort of private equity deal, we want to take a look at the private placement memorandum or offering memorandum or operating agreement, a lot of potential documents that can be, set up for these purposes. There might be subscription documentation as well. So on that subscription doc, we're having the IRA listed as the investor. And then you're telling us where to send the funds off to. So truly self-directed, start to finish.
Excellent. Someone else asked, how do I set up a private loan with my self-directed IRA at Madison Trust?
Yeah, similar to a question that we had in the beginning. So draft up a loan agreement or promissory note. We will review it, make sure all of it includes everything that we need for it to be administratively feasible, and we can share that information as well. Just let us know. And again, we're just making sure that there are no prohibited transactions taking place with any investment, whether it's a private loan or real estate transaction. So it's our job as a custodian to maintain the account's tax advantage status. So part of that is making sure you're not transacting with anyone disqualified, because then the IRA is no longer an IRA.
Exactly. And if disqualified parties in general, sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're good.
But disqualified parties include yourself. So you wouldn't be able to loan money to yourself. For example, certain close family members, such as spouses, parents, grandparents, children, and grandchildren. So those are the people that are pretty much off limits to your self-directed IRA.
Right. Ancestors, lineal descendants, yourself, and your spouse. So not all family members are disqualified. But yeah, so it's all a matter of getting us those documents for review, and then we'll take it from there step by step.
Awesome. Another audience member is asking, can I manage my self-directed IRA investments on my own, or do I need a custodian?
You do need a custodian. So per the IRS, every IRA needs a custodian, whether it's a conventional IRA or a self-directed IRA like we offer. So I had mentioned one of the roles of a custodian is to make sure the account keeps its tax advantage status. We're also in charge of record keeping, reporting to the IRS. So every year we file Form 5498 for every client, and when applicable, Form 1099-R. And then you also have ongoing support with us. So it's not, of course, a requirement, but this is a self-directed account. We're doing everything with your direction. So you need to be able to reach us. That's why customer service is of the utmost importance to us, and it's why our reviews are incredible online. So bit of a tangent there, but just keep that in mind. The customer service here is excellent. So we're still a custodian. We're still doing everything for you, but on top of that, we're very responsive and happy to assist.
Great. Another audience member is asking, is there an option to revert back to a managed IRA in the future if I decide to be passive about it?
Evidently. Yeah. So if you were to, hypothetically speaking, invest into, an LLC, then invest into real estate, if the gains that you made on the investment come back to the Madison account, you can send a portion or all those funds back to a more conventional IRA custodian, whether that's, Charles Schwab or Fidelity, have somebody manage it for you in regard to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So,
and this is very common, by the way, when a client's investment runs its course, they don't have any other alternative investments in the pipeline. So they simply close down the account, send the funds back to a different custodian, let's say Fidelity or Schwab or one of the big guys, and take it from there. And they can always set up a new account in the future if they have an opportunity to invest in an alternative.
Great. Another question coming in asking, can a property be purchased and then after the fact be moved into a self-directed IRA?
So no. So in this case, a property would have to be bought outright, and a self-directed IRA wouldn't be able to be moved into one or inserted into one necessarily. That would be prohibited by the IRS.
Right. And that goes back to what you were saying about the IRA owner being disqualified. So if
Exactly.
it's in the IRA owner's name, there's no chance of getting that property back into an IRA or even an IRA LLC.
Excellent. Another question coming in asking, can educators use their 403B or California State Teachers Retirement Funds to invest in apartment investing? Can you briefly discuss the process as to how to access those funds to do that?
Yes, that's possible. Make sure that those funds in the 403B or whatever retirement account are eligible to be rolled over to an IRA. So depending on the plan agreement, there could be restrictions there if you're currently employed or of a certain age. So we're simply on the IRA side. So it is up to the client to determine whether those funds are eligible to be rolled over. But let's assume they are. You will contact the plan administrator, provide them with Madison Trust's delivery instructions, and that's really all that they'll need to send the funds over to us as a direct rollover. So in other words, the funds are going right from your administrator to Madison Trust. You're not taking constructive receipt of those funds. So there's no 60-day window to worry about. The funds are just going straight to us, no tax implications, no penalties. That's the easiest way of going about it. You could do an indirect rollover if you wanted to, but generally speaking, the direct rollover is the way to go.
More seamless.
Yeah.
Great. Someone else is asking, how long does it take to open a trust or an LLC account at Madison Trust?
So if you're referring to the IRA trust, then that takes 3 to 5 business days. The LLC takes roughly a week. It really depends on the state where it's being established. Some states, they'll have it the articles of organization ready next day. Others might take 5, 7 business days to get everything settled on their end. So it really depends. But generally speaking, from opening an account to placing an investment, especially if you're doing an LLC or a trust, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks is a safe estimate to keep in mind. Can be done quicker. It really depends, but just to manage expectations, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks.
Great, great. Someone else is asking, sort of a long-winded question here, so bear with me. He has an account with us already. Having moved some of his 401k funds to us from his current W-2 employer, his wife has no W-2 income and took her 401k account from her former employer and has rolled it into annuities. We are both active in our real estate business. Is there a way to either A, pay some taxes and convert my self-directed account with you into a Roth version somehow? Or B, do I have to establish a new and different kind of Roth structure? And C, can my wife convert her 401k account holding an annuity into a Roth 401k or IRA? So kind of a 3-pronged question, but I'll let you guys take it.
You want to start that one off at least?
Yes, I'll start that one off. So basically with your account, you can convert those current IRA funds to a Roth, basically as a Roth conversion. Of course, you have to pay the taxes up front on that. But then you have Roth funds, later on when you take it out, they're tax free. So at that point, you can definitely do that. And I'll let you take the second part of the question.
Yeah, sure. And by the way, for a Roth conversion, um, the fee with us is $100 to complete it. It can be partial conversion, full conversion. It's completely up to you. You can elect withholding or not. And then, yeah, as Ryan said, just keep in mind the tax implications of doing that. Um, when it comes to the new Roth account, well, you will need a new Roth account with us, just because the tax treatment is different from the pre-tax or traditional account. So you can do it on your own and then complete the Roth conversion, or on our Roth conversion form, you can select basically, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it basically says create a new Roth account for me. So we can just do it for you if you don't rather not go through the application process again. And just to reiterate, $100 for us to initiate that Roth conversion. And the last part here, so your wife can establish an account with us and roll those funds over to an IRA. If she wants those funds to basically be Roth funds, she can set up a Roth with, if, and I'm assuming that the 401k is pre-tax, she can roll the funds right over to a Roth account. So in other words, no formal Roth conversion happening there, but she'll just owe any applicable taxes on the amount that's put into the new Roth account. So there's complementary reporting on both sides. So we've got the 1099-R from the 401k admin showing the funds leaving, and then we have the Form 5498 on our end showing the receipt of the funds. So that's how it's done.
Great. Excellent, guys. I know that was kind of a long one. We have another person asking, so if I have money in a Roth IRA, could I transfer it to Madison and then purchase a piece of land with that money?
So you could, yes. So it's as simple as opening the account with us, filling out a short transfer authorization form, which is a very, quick form, takes about 1 to 2 minutes, specifying where the funds are coming from, and say it's with, Charles Schwab or Fidelity. We'd send the request out to them. Within our processing time, they'd send the funds back as a direct IRA to IRA transfer. So there's no tax implications or penalties involved there. And then, like you mentioned before and alluded to before, you have to look at the documentation for this land, whether that be the purchase contract, settlement statement, potentially a draft of the deed, and then basically be placing that within the self-directed IRA at your direction.
Great. Great. We have someone else asking, can I roll over or transfer funds from a standard back into their Roth IRA?
You mean like I'm assuming they mean a standard IRA to a Roth
Um,
IRA?
correct.
Okay. So if I'm assuming when you say standard, well, I'll take it two ways. So when you say standard, that might mean you just have an IRA with a conventional firm, or you have a traditional IRA. So if you have a traditional IRA, you just got to do a Roth conversion. So it doesn't matter what custodian you're doing it with, whether it's with your current custodian or eventually Madison Trust. You need to initiate that somehow. So with Madison, there's a form you can complete online. I'm assuming it's the same for whatever custodian you might be using now. And let's just assume you have the conventional IRA, but it's already Roth. So if that's the case, you open up a Roth IRA with us, fill out the transfer authorization form once you're onboarded. We send that to your current custodian that holds the Roth funds. They send the funds over to us, and then you can invest in, or rather, you bring your investment to us, and then we'll help you from there.
Great. Great. Someone else asking, once funds are moved to Madison Trust, is there a time limit to make the purchase of an asset?
There's no time limit, frankly. There are, fees to maintain the account. So frankly, it's in your best interest to make an investment as soon as possible, but there is no time requirement in that regard.
Another question asking, what is the fee schedule associated with Madison Trust?
Yeah, so I can give you a quick overview. And obviously, if you wanted to reach out to us or look on our website for the full fee schedule, you can definitely obtain that. But basically, in general, it's about $50 to set up the account, $50 to place an investment. So basically $100 to place that first investment. And then 105 is our ongoing quarterly fee. So that's our quarterly custodial fee. That comes out to about $420 per year, and that would be the main kind of custodial cost there.
Right. The minimum cash balance just $500.
Great, great. Another question coming in asking, I want to use my self-directed Roth IRA to purchase land, but then I need more money to build on property. Can I use my personal non-IRA money to finish the investment project?
You can, well, Alberto, I apologize. Can you just repeat the end of that question one more time?
Yeah, no problem. Asking, can I use my personal non-IRA money to finish the investment project?
Thanks for that. So you can co-invest with your IRA. So that's normally accomplished through the IRA LLC. So one member of the LLC, as mentioned, is going to be the IRA with Madison Trust. You can add a second member, which can be you personally. So that way you are contributing both IRA funds and personal funds to one LLC to make this investment. One thing to keep in mind, and this goes back to what Ryan was mentioning before, since you're disqualified from your IRA, once these ownership percentages are established, they can't change. And this is in the LLC. So if it's 50-50, doesn't need to be, but it just makes the example easy. If the ownership percentages end up being 50-50, so 50% owned by the IRA, 50% owned by you personally, any cash going in and out of that LLC has to be proportional because the ownership percentages can't change. This is because, again, you're disqualified. So if the ownership percentages do change, there's only one way that can happen. There's a transfer of ownership units. And that would be a transfer of ownership units between two disqualified individuals. So that's why we are, very strict with these rules to make sure you're not getting yourself into any trouble here with the IRS. So keep that in mind. If you need to send, if it's 50-50, you need to send $1,000 to the LLC for whatever reason an expense comes up. That means $500 is coming from your IRA and $500 is coming from you personally, again, just to make sure the ownership percentages stay intact.
Exactly. And doing this from the beginning kind of relieves that chance of there being self-dealing implications or anything along those lines. So that's why it has to be done at the beginning, and you wouldn't be able to come in later with personal funds,
right?
To kind of finish off that investment, if that makes sense.
Good point.
Great. Another question here, more of a personal situation, saying, I own several properties in my self-directed IRA, and I am 56 years old. All rents go back into my self-directed IRA account currently. At what age can I begin to take funds from the self-directed IRA for personal use and not have any tax penalties?
So 59.5 is when you can start taking penalty-free distributions. Alberto, I can't remember if this individual said they have a Roth account. If it's a Roth account, then the distributions are tax-free as long as, so there's a few caveats there. So for a Roth distribution to be tax-free, you need to have made a Roth contribution at least 5 years ago, and you need to be at least 59.5 or older. So if those two criteria are met, a Roth distribution is going to be tax-free, generally speaking. And if it's traditional, basically the amount that's distributed is taxed as ordinary income. So it's going to depend on your personal tax bracket.
Okay, great. Another question here asking, can someone use their self-directed IRA funds for purchasing precious metals?
So they can, yes. So on our platform, we deal with Fidelity and their depository, the Delaware Depository, to buy precious metals. So whether that's, gold or silver coins, whatever it may be, that's generally how it's done on our platform, and it's held in that depository. So yeah, I don't know if you'd like to add anything to that as well.
No, yeah. So we work with the Delaware Depository, as Ryan said, broker dealers, Fidelity. You're making your investments on the Fidelity platform. Metals are held in the name of your IRA at the Delaware Depository.
Great. And someone asking here, what is a self-directed IRA and how does it differ from a standard IRA?
Sure. So a self-directed IRA, at the end of the day, it's an IRA, still an IRA, all the same rules and regulations. It's legally the same thing. The difference is what you can invest in. So with a self-directed IRA, you can invest in alternatives. And we went over some options earlier, but real estate is the most popular by far, whether that's a direct investment or a more passive investment. Private loans, very popular, so promissory notes, private equity, like private placements, private stock. Um, Cryptocurrency is popular, especially through the LLC or IRA trust, um, and precious metals that we just discussed. So again, really anything other than publicly traded securities, we can more than likely accommodate.
Great. And someone just asked, so the self-directed IRA does not work with index funds, bonds, etc.
Right. At least our self-directed IRA does not. So frankly, the term self-directed in front of IRA has been used a lot recently by firms that don't offer a true self-directed IRA. I have, for example, I have an IRA with JP Morgan. It's called a self-directed IRA. It's self-directed in the sense I can choose the stocks and mutual funds and so on that I invest in through the account. So I'm self-directing it in that way, but I don't have access or I'm not able to invest in alternatives through that account. So that's a difference. With Madison, if you open up an IRA and transfer retirement funds over, you can invest in real estate or private companies or et cetera. So that's what that's how we work in terms of the investment possibilities.
Great. Thanks, guys. Someone else asking, what type of investments could trigger UBIT?
So basically, if you invest in an active business, then the profits that come back to the IRA will more than likely be taxed as UBIT, so unrelated business income tax. So any active income coming back to the IRA, there's going to be UBIT implications. Passive income, there would not. So if you're receiving interest payments or rental payments, dividends from a C corp, you're not going to be subject to UBIT. So in most circumstances, UBIT is just not applicable. But if your IRA is invested into a restaurant, for example, in other words, an active business, then there's going to be UBIT there. So you'd work with your CPA, fill out Form 990T, we'll sign off on it, and then you just file it with your CPA, and you'll be good to go there in terms of reporting. And to avoid UBIT, some clients they set up blocker corporations like a C corp. So I think the max corporate tax level is 20%. Don't quote me there. And the max tax for UBIT is 37%. So if you use a C corp in some circumstances, then it's capped at 20% versus the potential 37% UBIT tax. So we're passive. I can't give advice. So definitely talk to your CPA or attorney about this if you're serious about moving forward. But generally speaking, that's how UBIT works and is applicable.
Great. Another question coming in asking, can one purchase foreign property with a self-directed IRA?
So they can. So through the Madison Trust IRA directly, we wouldn't be able to administer a foreign asset necessarily, but through the IRA, LLC or trust, and in the case the entity owned by the IRA that we alluded to before a little bit, you would be able to buy a foreign property. So definitely possible and doable through a IRA, LLC, or trust.
Great. Someone else asking, can I leverage a property investment instead of paying all cash within a self-directed IRA?
Yes. So the IRA or IRA LLC or trust can get a non-recourse loan. So non-recourse financing is required. All that means is the only recourse in the event of default is the property. So in other words, the bank or lender can't go after you, can't go after your IRA. You set up an IRA LLC, they can't go after that either. They're just taking back the collateral. So they can't satisfy the debt any other way. At the same time, you cannot use your personal credit score to secure this loan, and you can't personally guarantee the loan either because it's your IRA at the end of the day that's taking out this loan. Plus, you're a disqualified individual. So if your personal credit score qualified you for this, that would be self-dealing. So for these reasons, it's a riskier loan for the bank. So this is not a conventional mortgage. We do have a preferred lender that we can connect you with. Just reach out to one of us and we're happy to make the introduction. But another thing to keep in mind, there are tax implications here if you secure financing. So of course, with the IRA, it's tax advantaged. You wouldn't expect there to be any taxes at all. But these funds that are being lent to the IRA, they're unrelated to the IRA. These aren't funds that were contributed to the IRA, or these aren't funds or returns that were generated from those contributions. So the IRS will definitely want to tax you on the profits attributable to that debt financing. That's called UDFI, unrelated debt financed income. And this UDFI is subject to UBIT. So that's the tax that we just mentioned, unrelated business income tax. So again, even though this is an IRA, there still are tax implications if you get a non-recourse loan.
Great. Someone else asked here, in a self-directed IRA that is invested in, let's say, real estate, how is the no sweat equity rule enforced?
So in regard to sweat equity, in general, disqualified individuals, like we alluded to before, are not permitted to do any work on the property. So that includes, you personally, spouse, and any lineal descendants are off limits from doing sweat equity. Now, I guess there won't necessarily be an IRS agent in your backyard to look at that, but potentially, you never know. Potentially, an audit or something along those lines could show that you did work on the property potentially.
Yeah, I mean, the reasoning behind that is the IRS views sweat equity as an improper contribution to the IRA. So in other words, a contribution that's not in the form of cash. I think it's kind of ridiculous, but that's at least the reasoning behind it. But yeah, I mean, it's a prohibited transaction. It's our role as a custodian to let you know that, and our stance is definitely don't put any sweat equity into the property.
Excellent. Someone else is asking, can a disqualified individual live inside of a property owned by my self-directed IRA as long as they are paying fair market rent?
They cannot. So I completely understand where you're coming from. Even if it's fair market rent, that's still a transaction with a disqualified individual, which is the main issue there. So there's really no way of getting around that, unfortunately.
Great. We have someone else asking, can I open up an account and wait to fund until I find the property that I'm ready to purchase, simply so it's all ready to go when I find the right property?
Absolutely. Yeah. So more than likely, people will have some time to spare when making investments. So when something does come up, like a property or a different investment, they're able to pretty much explore that immediately. So yeah, they can open the account now, kind of have it ready for when the investment comes into frame, basically.
Right. Our clients that have the best experiences, they have the account open and funded before they start making offers. We do have clients that come to us who are in the middle of a transaction or a little bit late to the game. It's not the end of the world. We can still help you in most circumstances, but it's stressful. I think that goes without saying. So if you know you're serious about this, definitely have the account open and funded before you start making offers. It'll make everything so much easier and less stressful for sure.
Exactly.
Great, great. Another question coming in asking, can I loan the self-directed IRA money to a business that I am a partner in?
Potentially. So if the business is owned 50% or more by disqualified individuals collectively, then it's a disqualified entity or individual effectively to your IRA. If you're below that threshold, technically the IRA could transact with that business. Make sure you are not on both sides of the transaction so that there's no self-dealing implications here. So keep that in mind. Self-dealing is important. And if we know you are involved in the management of the company or if you're a partner, we may even ask for an attorney letter or a CPA letter, or even an email, some sort of confirmation that your loan or investment with the business would not be considered a prohibited transaction. Because at the end of the day, Madison's passive, self-dealing is nuanced. So if you can have a professional provide us with that confirmation, we're more than happy to move forward.
Excellent. Someone else is asking, can I borrow money from private people and invest through the self-directed IRA LLC, then keep the profit in the self-directed LLC IRA?
Yeah, you can. It just needs to be non-recourse, so you don't need to go to a bank necessarily. You can, get a hard money loan, private lender, But again, just make sure it's non-recourse, and that you're not personally guaranteeing anything or using your personal credit score, and you'll be good to go.
Exactly.
Great. Someone else is asking, can I purchase real estate under my Madison Trust account? And if so, what would that process look like?
So if you did want to purchase real estate through your Madison Trust IRA, basically, the first step, like we alluded to before as well, open the account. The second step is funding, whether that's from a 401k or an IRA with another custodian. The third step would basically be giving us the documentation that we need to make sure it's a compliant investment. So that's whether it be the purchase contract, settlement statement, and a draft of the deed. We take a look at those, make sure the titling is in the Madison Trust IRA because it'd be in the Madison Trust IRA's name rather than your name personally. And the titling there would be Madison Trust Company, custodian, FBO, your name, and your Madison account number. And then we basically place that investment at your request within your self-directed IRA. I will say, more than likely, people buying real estate, I'd say about 95% are doing it through one of the checkbook IRAs for its, added convenience, access to funds, etc. So that's just something I like to mention as well.
Okay, great. Another question coming in asking, so once a self-directed IRA investment reaches fruition and the investment yields proceeds, how do the proceeds get distributed back to the self-directed IRA and eventually back to me personally?
So let's say you are invested with in some sort of fund through the Madison Trust account. We can provide the investment sponsor with our delivery instructions, and this will be provided, in the beginning or at any point, honestly, so that they can send the funds to Madison Trust directly. So the funds are coming back to Madison Trust. We then credit those funds to the respective IRA. So now the funds are officially in the IRA, still have the same tax advantage, no tax implications at this point. If you want to distribute those funds, if you're 59 and a half or older, for example, you simply fill out a distribution request form. This can be found online or through the client portal, and then we'll process that request from there. So 4 business days, we'll get those funds out. You can elect withholding, and that's all there is to it, frankly. And just keep in mind, again, traditional IRA, the amount that's distributed is taxed as ordinary income, and then Roth distributions are potentially tax-free. We covered that a little bit earlier.
Excellent. Okay, so in regard to the Roth IRA 5-year rule, does the investment have to be 5 years old, or does the Roth IRA itself have to be over 5 years?
Great question. So you only need to have made a Roth contribution at least 5 years ago. So let's say you had a Charles Schwab Roth IRA in 2019 and you made your first contribution in that year and you open up a Madison Trust account in 2024. Technically, and you transfer the funds over. Technically, if the other criteria are met, you can take a tax-free distribution from the Madison account because you've made that contribution at least 5 years ago. So that 5-year timeline has lapsed. You're good to go. Again, got to be at least 59 and a half years old to take that tax-free Roth distribution, assuming the 5-year rule has been met.
Great. Someone else asking, can an active company 401k be transferred to us and funds redeployed as self-directed?
So potentially, so it depends on their age as well as that company's current status. So more than likely, if it's a current employer and it's their 401k, there's a good chance, more than likely, that they won't allow them to roll it over into a self-directed IRA or any IRA for that matter. If they're 59 and a half, they could potentially take an in-service withdrawal and basically roll the funds to us anyway because they're at retirement age. But in general, it'd be something to ask the plan administrator because they have the final say, if you will.
Okay, great. We're coming up to the end of our time here. One final question. Is it possible to speak with a self-directed IRA specialist at Madison Trust one-on-one if they have any other general questions?
Absolutely. So there is a contact us page on our website where you can message us, send over an inquiry if you have any questions. We always appreciate scheduled calls. There's a link to schedule a call with a representative like me or Ryan. There's 3 of us, me, Will, Ryan, and then our other colleague, Ian. So we're more than happy to help out anyone who is looking to get started. We're on the sales side of the firm, just to reiterate. So if you don't have an account with us yet, definitely reach out to us. If you're a current Madison client, it's best to contact the support team. They might not be able to answer all of your questions, but that's, you know, your best, probably the best option there for questions. But anyone who is looking to establish an account, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to assist.
Exactly. That's what we're here for. We're here to educate people about self-directed IRAs, kind of, you know, any questions that they may have in their process and their research. So that's what we're here for at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Great. And as mentioned, we're coming up at the end of our time here. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
No, other than, you know, thank you everyone for participating and attending today. I do enjoy answering these questions. It's great to get in front of a lot of people and just get all these questions answered. You know, it's very efficient. But again, if you want us to clarify anything, if you're looking to open up an account, let us know. Call us, schedule a call. You'll find us on the contact us page. And again, thank you so much everyone for attending today.
Yeah, thanks so much for all the great questions, for bringing those to us. And yeah, thanks so much again.